On the final morning of the Buriram test, Yamaha called Alex Rins aside and asked him a question that no factory rider should ever be asked. They wanted his second bike, not because of a technical failure, not because of an accident. They wanted to hand it to Fabio Quartararo because Quartararo needed more laps and Yamaha had run out of options. Rins, who had his own program to run, his own data to gather, his own future to prove, said yes. I gave my second bike to Fabio. I just had one bike. We need to keep working on this project. We need to be generous. And then he spent the rest of the day nursing a single machine around Buriram, 54 laps, one bike, finishing 20th. That moment, more than any lap time, tells you where Yamaha actually are, and it carries a weight that goes beyond logistics. Because the last time a world champion gave a Yamaha the middle finger, the exact same gesture Quartararo made on day one at Buriram, it was Marquez at Honda in 2023. That was Germany. Marquez had just been thrown off his bike, launched over the bars at a circuit he had dominated for years. He crashed 5 times that weekend, stood up after each one, and somewhere between fall 4 and fall 5, something inside him made a decision. Within 18 months, he was gone, off to Gresini, then to factory Ducati, and now a world champion again. The gesture itself became a symbol of a relationship that had passed the point of repair. The parallels are not comfortable viewing for anyone inside the Yamaha garage. And the people in that garage know it. Subscribe. This season is going to be worth watching closely. So let's talk about what this test actually revealed. Not the lap times you already know, but the internal dynamics of a team under real pressure. Rins is the character in this story who doesn't get enough credit. He finished 20th, over a second off the benchmark, running on a single machine with high mileage on the engine. And when he explained how he handled his own frustration on track, the anger, the helplessness of a bike that won't respond, he said something that revealed a completely different psychology to his teammate. I try to scream in my office. I try to analyse my anger when I'm riding. On the inbox lap, I try to arrive in the box in a better way. That is a man doing the emotional labour that a development project requires, processing the information rather than reacting to it, and then handing over his bike without complaint when the team asked. Rins also confirmed something specific about where the V4 is falling short that went beyond the headlines. We are losing a lot in terms of engine power, but also on the traction side. Not only Ducati but Honda, Aprilia, they get better traction and they recover more out of corners, then gain on the straights. On braking, I feel a little bit more comfortable, but this one doesn't turn so good. Power, traction, corner exit, turning. That is essentially every phase of a lap except braking. For a bike in its first competitive season, that is an honest assessment of how much work remains. What makes the Rins sacrifice significant is what it reveals about Yamaha's internal priorities. Quartararo is the reference. He has been the reference since 2021. Every major development decision gets filtered through his feedback, his riding style, his lap times. Rins understands this. They're very focused on Fabio, and, to his credit, he's accepted it rather than fought it. But the situation is becoming harder to sustain, because Quartararo's feedback, while technically valuable, is increasingly coming from a rider who has already decided he's leaving. His Honda talks are confirmed. Yamaha hasn't even opened contract renewal discussions. And the development of the V4 that will carry this team through the 2027 regulation change is being shaped by a man whose emotional investment in the outcome is diminishing race by race. That is a structural problem that no amount of generous bike sharing can solve. Subscribe if you want to follow how this one plays out. The test results confirmed something else too. Quartararo's race simulation average, 1 minute 30.953 seconds over 10 laps, was actually closer to the front than his single lap position suggested. That puts Yamaha roughly 0.6 per lap behind the leaders in race trim. which sounds better than a second off in qualifying, but against Marquez's 2025 race-winning average of 1 minute 31.3 seconds over a full Grand Prix distance, it still projects to a deficit of 15 to 20 seconds by the flag. And that's Quartararo, the best Yamaha in the simulation, on a bike that had an extra machine's worth of development laps fed into it that day. Miller averaged 1 minute 32.115 seconds over 20 laps, which puts him potentially 40 seconds adrift of the projected winner over race distance. These are not numbers that suggest a competitive 2026. They are numbers that suggest a team in the middle of a structural reset, trying to gather enough information to make the V4 into a weapon by 2027, while competing in 2026 with what they currently have. There is one genuinely positive signal buried in all of this. Yamaha's chassis has shown improvement across both tests. Riders have noted better braking stability and more predictable initial turn-in compared to the old inline 4, areas where the previous machine was costing them lap time every session. The architecture is not wrong. The direction is not wrong. What's wrong is time. The V4 arrived before the engine development could match the chassis progress. And in MotoGP, engine performance is not something you fix at the racetrack. It requires dyno hours, component cycles, homologation windows, and months of iteration that simply haven't happened yet. The gap is real and structural, and closing it will take patient, unglamorous engineering work that doesn't generate headlines. That is the honest position Yamaha find themselves in as round one arrives. A rider sacrificing his second bike so his teammate can gather more data. A world champion flipping off his machine in a gesture that echoes the last great implosion in Japanese manufacturer history, and a season about to start where the best possible outcome for both the team and the project is structured, disciplined data collection that nobody in the grandstand came to watch. The racing will happen regardless. The development will happen regardless. If this story interests you, subscribe. It's only getting bigger. The Thai Grand Prix is this weekend. Same circuit, same heat, same straights where the V4 is bleeding time. And Yamaha's riders will line up knowing the gap is real, the season is long, and that somewhere between now and the regulation change in 2027, this project has to find another gear. Whether Quartararo is still around to see it happen, that is the question that will define Yamaha's next 3 years.